And we are live. Welcome, mystery and thriller fans. I'm your on-air host and author, Sara DiVello, and I am so excited to welcome tonight DP Lyle, here to give us the inside scoop on the latest in his Jake Longley series, Unbalanced. Doug, welcome to Mystery and Thriller Mavens. Tell us about this book.
Well, it's a fun story, like most of them are. This is number 7 in the series, and for the people out there who aren't familiar with Jake and his crew, Jake is an idiot. Let's just start there. Jake is a slacker. Jake just wants to kind of cruise through life with his hands in his pocket, whistling down the boardwalk. He was an ex-professional baseball player. So he made some money doing that, and then he was a pitcher, and he lasted 6 or 7 years, and then he retired. And so he bought a bar called Captain Rocky's on the beach in Gulf Shores, Alabama, which is where he's from. And so he basically wants to hang out at his bar and chase bikinis. That's pretty much his role in life. But his father, Ray, is an ex something. We don't know what, Marine, Special Ops, Black Ops. We don't know what Ray did. We will never find out what Ray did, except Ray is no nonsense. And now he's a private investigator, and he cannot understand why Jake won't work for him.
Right.
And Jake says there's no way, not a chance in hell. So in each story, Jake has a girlfriend now, Nicole, who's insanely gorgeous, insanely crazy, snarky, and just gives Jake grief all the time. And their banter back and forth all the time is one of the humorous parts. These are humorous thrillers. They're funny. And then he's got a friend that he grew up with named Pancake. And Pancake's actually Tommy Jeffers, but everybody calls him Pancake. He's about 6'5", 280 with red, wild hair. And Pancake is very smart, computer smart, but tough as nails. So, and they go way back. They have a history from childhood of mischief. So all of those dynamics are in the story. And in each story, Jake gets dragged into Ray's world, kicking and screaming.
Well, we are very excited to talk with you tonight and get the inside scoop on Jake, Nicole, Pancake, and the adventure, the humorous adventure that is Unbalanced. First, I just want to welcome everyone. So we are broadcasting live to 7 different destinations across Facebook and YouTube. So no matter where you're watching from, you're in the right place. This is the right time. It is Mystery Monday, because Mondays can be murder. We're going to make it a little less painful, get your week off to a killer start. So if you've been with me before, you know the drill. And if you're new, welcome, friends. Here's the drill. Every Monday, I give you my handpicked featured authors, and you get to ask them anything. So ask DP Lyle about this series, about this Jake character, about Pancake, about all of the many books, including nonfiction, that he has written. Just get those questions going in the comments, and I will get them right over to Doug. Randy is joining us from Indiana. Hi, Randy. Welcome to the conversation via YouTube. Robin's joining us via Facebook. She says, hello all. Hi, Robin. Great to have you back. We have Renee joining us from Southeast Florida via YouTube. Hi, Renee. She says, hi, Sarah and DP. And Renee wants to know, Doug, can we read this book without reading the prior novels in the series?
Yes, I mean you can. Each of them can are self-contained stories. Obviously, with any series, it's best if you know the background of the characters and all that. But I always add at least a taste of who they are and their relationships and where they came from to each story, so that those who haven't read them at least get the feel for who they are and what they are. But I think that all comes across in each story, because these characters have a dynamic, and that dynamic recurs, and there's tropes that recur and things like that. So they can all be read as a standalone.
I think for me, that would be one of the hardest things as an author, to both ensure that every book could be read as a standalone and your new readers could meet Jake, Nicole, and Pancake where they are in this case in book 7. But for other people who've read the first ones,
Right.
to give them, all of to keep developing the characters, that would be really hard for me. What are your thoughts on that? How do you do that, Doug?
Well, it is a balancing act, and I have a couple of other series that are more police procedural and forensic oriented, and it's the same thing there. How much is too much? How much do you tell the reader about forensic science, and how much do you just wing it and say you'll get the gist of it. You'll understand what I'm saying because you don't want to make it a textbook. Well, this,
I
you don't want to make it a rehash of previous stories, but you have to give just enough that everybody understands who these people are and what they're really. But it's really pretty simple to do because it comes across in the dynamic of the story. You figure out very quickly the dynamic between all these characters.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Yeah. That would be that would be an interesting author writerly challenge, I think.
Exactly.
Very cool. Renee is saying, wow, exactly, Renee. That's what I'm thinking about too. John is joining us from Northeast Ohio via Facebook. Hi, John. Great to have you here. Renee says Pancake sounds like a good name for a dog. Pancake does sound like a good name for a dog. Doug, any
Yeah.
thoughts?
Well, every Pancake like played offensive line during college, and so he was famous for pancake blocks because he's so big. And a pancake block is where you just flatten the guy like a pancake in front of you. And Tommy was good at that. So a lot of people think it's because of how he eats. And one of Pancake's things is he eats constantly and prodigiously. I mean, he eats massive amounts of food, and of course he goes to Captain Rocky's, Jake's place, and eats for free all the time. So that's one of the dynamics between these guys. But Pancake is notorious for his prowess at the dinner table, and it's a standing joke that rolls through the whole thing. Yeah.
I I get along just fine with Pancake because I also like to eat early and often. So that would work very well for me. Robin saying Mondays can be murder, right, Robin? That is exactly right. We're here to make them a little less painful and get your week off to a killer start. You know how it is. You're a Maven's crew. You're one of our crew. Renee wants to know, Doug, what inspired the series? Yeah, how did you start writing this Jake Longley series?
Well, it's interesting on many levels. I mean, first of all, my first couple of series, Samantha Cody and Dub Walker, they were more traditional thrillers. Those Samantha Cody's books had a little woo-woo in them, a little metaphysical that you weren't sure it was real or not. But Dub's were more straight up police procedural forensic science books, that kind of thing. So I decided, I have this idea, this vague idea for this character, and I want to write something funny. I mean, I'm a funny guy, you know. I like to laugh about stuff, and I love to read comedy, and I grew up on comedy on TV, and so I said I'd like to write something like that. Well, I got an idea for a scene, and I got this vague idea of this Jake character, though I really don't know who he is, but I had one scene in mind. And I said, well, just write it and shut up. Don't worry about outlining all that. Just start writing. So I wrote that scene and then the next scene and the next scene and the next scene. And then next thing you know, 3 months later, I finished the first draft of the book. It was the easiest writing I ever did because I didn't have an outline. I just let the story go where the story was supposed to go. I didn't know who the bad guys were. I didn't know who was going to die, though I was sure someone was. I didn't know how it was going to end. I didn't know all the characters that were going to come in. I didn't know anything. So I just started writing, and that's the way I write all these books. That's the way I write all my stuff now. Is I don't outline. I just let it take me where I want it, where it wants to go. So it proved to be fun, a lot more fun. Now, when you create an outline, you're kind of straitjacketed. You've put not that you're not gonna manipulate it and change it and all that, but you've created a cage in which you're trying to fit this story. Whereas if you don't know, you don't have a cage, you don't know where you're going. As somebody once said, it's like a trapeze artist without a net. And the thing is just jump, the net will always appear.
That is interesting. I also don't outline, although I'm going to say that last one was so painful that I'm going to try to start outlining because I want that support.
We talked about that before. Yes.
We sure did. Renee wants to know, so when you're not outlining though, do you ever write yourself into a corner? Great question, Renee.
Yeah, I mean, often, I will get maybe 20,000 words done, and then I'll step away for a week and just think about it and say, okay, where's this story going to go? But things always come up. Like, oh, now I know this thing, I know this story, I know where this has to go, not where I want it to go, but where it has to go. And I think the critical thing for writers out there, if you're going to do this method, is know what the midpoint is. The midpoint is that point in a story where everything changes. Everything changes about the character. Everything changes about the story. When Brody in Jaws, that moment was when he looked out at the ocean after he got slapped by the woman and the child had been killed, and now there's been the sharks killed two people, and he just stares at the water. And you know, right there, Brody has changed. And now this story has changed. They're no longer on defense, they're going on offense. The story changed. So if you kind of know what that midpoint's going to feel like, not necessarily the details, right to that, because every scene that goes to that is to get to that point. Once you get to that point, it's like riding the lift up at a ski resort. Now it's downhill all the way, because now you've reached that pinnacle, you've reached that turning point, and now you know where this story is going. So I always tell people right to the midpoint. I think that's the key to doing it this way. You know, what they call pantsing. You know, just fly. You know. I can't hear you.
I said, "Uh-oh, Doug." I was on mute because I was typing.
Yeah.
I said, "Uh-oh, Doug, we have Kathy Andrew in the audience."
No, not Kathy.
Not Kathy, your partner in crime. And
She knows she knows where the bodies are buried.
she knows where the bodies are buried, and she has an outline to get there. So
she is an outliner. Though we're working on her.
In one corner, and we got an outliner in the other corner. Now you're going to have to fight. Fight.
We've been doing that for 30 years now, so it's okay.
Y'all, I want to share that Kathy and Doug are both best-selling authors in their own right, and together they have started an exciting new online writing university called Outliers Writing University, with the goal of making writing classes accessible to all, no matter where you are. So if we have any writers in the audience, the link is right. I'm going to pop the link right here into the comments, and be sure to check out outlierswritinguniversity.com. And they have an incredible lineup of classes on craft and all the aspects of the art of writing and the business of publishing, which you will want to check out. So thank you for Doug and Kathy. Okay, we have so many questions here. We can't wait to get to all of them. Okay, let me just make sure I didn't miss any of them. Okay. Oh my goodness, this is so exciting. Okay, Robin saying that her neighbor named her sweet baby Frenchie Potato. Yeah. Very nice. Brioche, at least, would be French. We got a potato pancakes. So we got a latke. That's a good name for a dog. Renee says, Doug DP, you're a new author to me. It is so nice to meet you. How many series have you written?
This is number 5. I have 2 active ones, but I wrote Sam Cody, Dub Walker, and then I wrote 2 books, what they call media tie-in novels for the Royal Pains TV series. Mm-hmm. And then I right now have the Jake series, and then I have a Kane Harper series, Bobby Kane and Harper McCoy, and they're much darker thrillers, and they're fixers. They will take care of business, and I don't want to get too far into that, but go check them out, because they're darker, though. They're darker. They're more traditional thrillers, where Jake is more run and get. Not that there's not blood and guts and murder and all that in Jake's books, but they're all done with kind of tongue-in-cheek and fun.
Which is why your books have said it is a good match for any Janet Evanovich fans, yep. People who like that witty repartee, that comedic classic detective humor, which I know I sure do. Randy says, I can't stop staring at your Marshall amp. I think you guys are speaking music language.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
So I tell us about your musical self.
I do have a Marshall amp, and I've got a Mesa Boogie amp, and I've got I got 2 Marshall amps. I got some Fender amps. I got 30-something guitars.
Oh my God!
I'm sitting right now in a soundproof music studio in my home. I used to play and record a lot. I don't anymore, because writing takes up too much time, and I'm old and my fingers don't work so well anymore. But I have a ton of it, like a 58 Les Paul and a 57 and a 59 Strat. And, I collect guitars that are one of a kind. I've had several custom made, but like I said, I don't get time to play much anymore. When I do play, it's the blues or blues based rock. That's the only real music.
I love that. Now, Doug, you referenced that one of your series includes some woo woo. Robin's saying she
Yeah.
likes some woo woo.
Yeah.
Tell us about what do you like about woo woo? Why do you write that?
Well,
Because I like some woo woo too.
Samantha Cody is a cop in a small town that made up in the California desert, and she's also training to be a professional boxer. And Sam's a little strawberry blonde girl, but she can knock you out with either hand. She's tough as nails. But her first case, she gets involved with this guy who is in her jail, who is accused of child murders, and he starts manipulating people, and it's almost as if he has supernatural abilities to do this. But does he or doesn't he? We don't know. But a lot of things happen that make you think he is really the devil's right hand man, and Sam's got to go up against him. And of course, in the end, it's got to be mano a mano. And he's got superpowers, and Sam has a left hook. So they end up fighting in the desert. It's called Devil's Playground. And talk about the woo woo. I wrote that book, and I was working on like the third draft of it, and I had it set in the Mojave Desert. And so I got online and I said, all right, let me go look at some geography because I want something out that happens outside the town, the little fake town, which if you look on a map, is where Amboy is right now. And as I'm looking around in the Mojave Desert, just north of there is a place in the Mojave Desert called Devil's Playground. I literally just said, what? I didn't know it existed. I'd never heard of it. So that's woo woo. You're muted again.
That is crazy, Doug. So
It is.
what do you think is going on? Are you getting a message from the universe? Are you being divinely
Yeah,
guided?
yeah,
What's
yeah,
going
yeah,
on?
yeah. I think the woo woo is everywhere.
The woo
You
woo
got to
is
be careful.
yeah, exactly. You got to be careful. I love that. And I am being careful. How long have you been a professional novelist?
Well, let's see. I finished my first novel, which my agent laughed at in about 2003. So 20 years. I started writing 3 years before that, seriously. But my first novel was 138,000 words, and my wonderful agent, Kimberly Cameron, read it and called me and said, there's a story in here somewhere. I just can't find it. And I said, okay. But to make a long story short, after 27 rewrites, 10 years, change the protagonist, change the title. The only thing that stayed the same was the bad guy and the basic story. We finally published it as the first Dub Walker book called Stress Fracture because I wouldn't give up on the story. But
Uh-huh.
there's a lesson there. But so I'd say, from the time I finished my first, probably 25 years since I first started writing seriously. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Thank you for that question. Oh my goodness, we have so many questions. Okay. I want to make sure we get to all of them. Robin's saying outlining could be a plan subject to change, just like her road trips. What do you think about that, Doug?
Exactly. That's the point. And it's okay to be an outliner. It's okay. But what I'm saying is that, and I used to be, and it won't mean that I won't do it again for a certain
Mhm.
story, but have the freedom to just sit down and just let it fly. Don't
Uh-huh.
worry about, well, this won't fit the outline that I made. Who cares? If it feels right, go with it. Go
Mm.
with it. Just go with it and write it. Stephen King said something about that, the authors are just secretaries. They're not God. All they're doing is reporting what the
Ooh.
characters in the story is telling them to report. That they're
Ooh.
not, and you talk about the characters. Well, if you let them, they'll tell the story. Well, yes and no, but the point is if you get out of your own way and just say, I'm sitting in a bar with a buddy and where I'm making up a story.
Mm-hmm.
Here, let me tell you a story. I got this idea. Let me tell you, this is what we went out camping, and this is what da 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 da, and you just start spinning a yarn. What's wrong
Uh-huh.
with that? What's wrong with that?
Nothing.
Yeah. And you'll end up with the story. Just try it. All of you that are out there that outliners and do this stuff, I get it. I understand. But
He's talking to you, Kathy.
just if you come up with let's say you have an idea that's been kicking around the back of your brain, but you're not ready to write it. Don't worry about it. You have an idea for a scene. Sit down and write that scene. See where it goes.
So
You might be surprised.
if you're writing by the seat of your pants, Renee wants to know, do the endings of your novels surprise you?
Sure. Sure. I often have a vague idea of what I want to happen, but when, where, and how it's going to happen, I don't know.
Uh-huh.
But it comes out of the story, because once you start populating the story with bad guys and henchmen and good guys and characters and red herrings and all the stuff that you throw into a story, pretty soon it's kind of flowing in a direction that's inevitable. And the confrontation is inevitable. When, where, and how it's going to happen, if you try to write to that, a lot of people say, well, I know what the ending is. Well, then you're forcing yourself to take that road. Maybe there's a better road. All of it works, whatever works for you. Now, I use a program called Scrivener, and everybody should have Scrivener.
I use Scrivener.
Because you can kind of outline, not really outline, but you can make notes on the next 4 or 5 scenes. Because once you come up with the scene, it automatically tells you, oh, then this, this. You can scribble little notes and you can keep it all in order. But you go on and write that scene to go to the next scene, and you may move them around, delete them, add, whatever. But Scrivener makes writing easier. It makes it easy to navigate your story.
I totally agree. I love that.
Yep.
Kathy's saying you're so kind, Sarah. Oh, Kathy, it's my pleasure.
And Kathy's not. She's mean.
We call her Vicious Kathy. Yeah.
Vicious Kathy, yes.
Vicious Kathy.
And be careful, or she'll take you purse shopping, which is like, 6 hours to hell.
Don't tease me with a good time, Doug. Don't tease me with a good time. I love purses. Oh my God.
Well, you don't have to carry them for her.
Happily. I volunteer.
And sometimes pay for them for her, because she runs out of money.
Well, you're a good friend to have, Doug Lyle. Robin, you're very kind. I love you too. Kim saying, wow, that is quite the musical collection. Kathy says, lots of luck getting him to play. Ooh, maybe he'll play. It's a challenge for next time, Doug. Everybody wants you to come back and play for us.
Oh, you wouldn't want that.
I think we would. Oh my gosh, we are loving this conversation. Devil's Playground. Yes, blue. Robin, so did you say blues or jazz?
Blues. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. So wait, do you verbally write your books, Doug, and then type them in? When you say when you were saying sit down and let me tell you a story, do you verbally?
Oh, no. It's interesting. Devil's Playground, the first sound book I wrote in a spiral notebook with a fountain pen. I have a fountain pen collection too. So I wrote it with a fountain pen. I wrote the first draft that way. And then I found out that I didn't like transcribing it and rewriting it as I did it. So I just write directly into the computer, obviously. But I'm telling the story in my head, sure. And I'm a very visual writer, probably because I grew up on television and movies, even though I read a lot. But especially Jake, because the comedic things come right out of Tracy and Hepburn and Sam and Diane and Nora and Nick and
Nick and Nora, and little Asta the dog.
Yeah. And Gleason and all that stuff. Those were the sitcoms, and those were the dynamics between husband and wife or boyfriend and girlfriend. And those were part of my growing up, those dynamics of where they joust with each other.
Yep.
And mentally and intellectually, they're on a more even level, even though usually the female character is smarter. Alice is a lot smarter than Ralph, no question.
Not just on the page, Doug.
Oh, I understand. You don't have to tell me that. I know.
Y'all, Unbalanced drops tomorrow, and you can pre-order tonight from our favorite woman-owned independent bookstore. That is, of course, Murder by the Book in Houston, Texas. So get this book, book 7 in the Jake Longley series, recommended for fans of Carl Hiaasen and Janet Evanovich. And you can get your mitts on this book tomorrow. And I want to take a peek at some of the praise. Paul Levine, who is the author of the Jake Lassiter series, says that Unbalanced is I'm going to pop this up so we can all read this. Is a first-rate, fast-paced humdinger of a tale of murder and mystery, which is exactly the kind of books that I like to read. Sheldon Siegel, who's the New York Times bestselling author, says the OC is a fast-paced and wickedly funny tale. D.P. Lyle's prose is stylish, smart, and compelling. Another grand slam in this immensely thrilling series, and the praise goes on and on. I'm going to keep populating some of the praise. Meanwhile, Kathy says she wants to know how your childhood impacted your writing and what happened to make your mind work like this. Doug, time to tell all here.
We on Outliers, we have a YouTube channel and we have a program we call Get to Know, and Kathy puts everybody on the couch, and the first thing she asks them is about their childhood. Well, yeah, I mean, I grew up in the South. In the South, if you can't tell a story, they won't feed you. They just put you out behind the barn and let you die. Um, and so I grew up around storytellers. My mom never let the truth get in the way of a good story. She could just reel off yarns that you wouldn't believe. My dad was a great storyteller. My sisters were. Everybody I knew was a good storyteller. And so I think it's the old Appalachian, Scotch, Irish things. I grew up in North Alabama in the foothills of the Appalachians in Huntsville. So that old storytelling where you sit around and spin yarns, and it came from that. So there's no question about it. Then I started reading seriously novels when I was 14, and even all the way through medical school. After the first 2 years, when you don't have time to do anything because it's all academic. But after you get out in the junior year and thereafter, I always took the month of August off, and I did not read medical journals for that month. I'd get caught up later in September, October, but I would read the 5 or 6 best-selling novels of that year that were of interest to me, and I would read 5 or 6 novels a year, that all in the month of August, so I wouldn't lose touch with that because I just love storytelling. I love everything about it.
Well, I think that love of storytelling shines through, and I always say the same thing. It's not about any particular book. It's about the craft of
Mhm.
storytelling, and it's about connection through storytelling and being able to read stories and write stories and connect with readers and writers in that way. Storytelling is as old as humans are, and it's such a lovely way for us to
Well,
connect.
just think about it. With you and your friends, you get together. It's always about sharing stories. Let me tell you what happened yesterday. Let me tell you what Joe said. Let me tell you about oh, my kid, guess what he did yesterday? It's a story. Rarely do people have like serious discussions about life, and they
Right.
tell stories. And that's what you
Exactly.
do when you get together with friends. So it's all based around stories.
You mentioned that you went to medical school. Doug, did you practice medicine?
Yeah, I just retired 2 months ago after
Congratulations.
56 years, and I practiced cardiology. And as a matter of fact, I was in Houston. I was at Texas Heart Institute. That's where I did my cardiology, right there on Fannin Street and in the Texas Medical Center, which is massive.
Wow.
Did
What
my
a
residency and my fellowship in Houston. Yeah,
So Murder by the Book is your stomping
exactly,
grounds.
exactly.
Exactly. Well, congratulations on retiring from an incredible career in cardiology. Yes, congratulations. And now you can focus your full-time attention on your books and on Outliers, helping other
Yes,
people to become authors. So y'all, I just want to remind you the book drops tomorrow. So
yes,
Unbalanced, book 7 in the Jake Longley series, is available from our favorite woman-owned independent bookstore right there in Houston, Texas, Doug's old stomping grounds.
big
So
H and big T.
Big H, Big T. So whether you're watching with us on Facebook or YouTube, here is that link. Click and pre-order and get your mitts on this fabulous book. Well, Doug, we are out of time. Time flies when you're having this much fun. Thank you
Wow.
so much for joining us. I have to agree back here with what I saw. One of the words was from Lee Child, who said, "We all know Lyle's erudition and expertise, but who knew he was this funny?" High praise there.
I threatened him to say that, but
Well, it worked.
it worked. Yeah.
Y'all, thank you for watching with us. Doug, happy pub day tomorrow. I'll be
Thank
back at
you.
the
Thank you.
top of
Thank
the
you.
hour with Maureen Johnson. Y'all hang tight. Kim says, thank you so much for the entertaining interview. Renee saying, happy early pub day. So much love and hearts from everybody. All right, y'all, go get a snack, a drink, and I'll see you at the top of the hour. Hang tight.